Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Leafs Talk Live with myself, Jake, and I have a special guest on here this week. You want to introduce yourself to the crowd?
For sure, yeah. My name's Clarky, aka Clarky Snipes. I used to rip Genos back in high school, but I've been retired a few years now, and I'm no professional like our guest last week, but I'm excited. I'm just an ordinary Leaf fan like a lot of you followers out here, and I'm excited to talk about the Leafs. Go Leafs, go!
Let's go, Leafs. Let's have a great show here on Leafs Talk Live today. We're going to start off. I'm going to show a picture of the last time I was at a Leafs game with my good friend here. That's Legends Row, if you don't know, and that's two legends right there. Myself and Clarky, we were sitting there with Bauer, Sittler, all the greats. But all the greats brings me to something that the Leafs announced this week, and it's some new jerseys that have a retro feel to them. I don't really know how I feel about these jerseys. Well, actually, I do know how I feel about these jerseys. I'm trying to get a grip on what everybody in Leafs Nation thinks, because this was the teaser picture that the Maple Leafs posted for these jerseys. And my first thought was, damn, these are going to be some nice jerseys. That looks like a pretty nice jersey, no?
Yeah, I feel like it's a sneak peek. You have to see the full thing, but yeah, I can see a nice jersey come from that.
And the full thing, this is what it looks like. To me, this looks a bit like a sweater. More like a sweater than a hockey jersey. I don't like this reverse retro look. There's some cool ones around the league, but I'm not a big fan of this one. How do you feel about these?
Yeah, to be honest, my style with the jersey is I just like to keep it plain and simple. I think that you always got to go blue and white for a Leafs jersey. That's just my opinion. I think when you throw in the gray, you're complicating things a bit. And yeah, there's like that highlighted color in it too. So I'm not the biggest fan of them. If I was short Charmin around the house and I had that jersey, I'd probably be using that for the toilet. But yeah, definitely not my favorite, that's for sure. I think that a lot of other NHL teams did a lot better with the retro jerseys. You look at the Sabres, you look at Ottawa. I know there's a lot you could get into, but I don't think the Leafs did that well. I think they missed the mark overall.
I think they definitely did. You're spot on right there. Charmin toilet paper is what the jerseys look like. Other than the Leafs logo, you've got that logo on your jersey. It's blue on blue, and to me that looks atrocious. It's not this color of blue either. It's like a lighter blue. I don't like it, not one bit.
Yeah, I agree. I do not have much more to say about it. I feel like I'm wasting air talking about this jersey because it's just something I'd never wear. I'd never want my friends to wear. I definitely not want my worst enemy to ever wear. I just don't like the thing.
So the point in this show, the title, if you've read it, it's the Preseason Award Show. It's way too early to be speculating this, but we're Leafs fans, so that's what we do. We're going to get right into it. We're going to start off with some of the lesser known trophies in the NHL, and we're going to make our way to the Art Ross, the Hart Trophy, all the good stuff. We're going to start off with the Mark Messier Leadership Award. And before I really start this, I want to know what all you viewers think. So leave your comments. I'll post some of them up here throughout the show. I want to know what you think. Who fits the description of these awards the best? So the Mark Messier Leadership Award is the player who exemplifies great leadership to his team on and off the ice during the regular season. You want to start with this? Who do you have?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll start. So recent winners of this award, we got Giordano, Simmons, Englund. And you know what? I have to go back. Leafs picked up Simmons this year in free agency. And he's got my pick for this award. If a Leaf player was going to win it, I think it'd be Simmons. I think that Simmons is definitely a leader on and off the ice. He's type of player that's able to throw the bod, throw some fists, get in the grindy zone, get in the zones a lot of players don't want to on the ice. And I think that overall Simmons is just a guy that when you're playing with him, you see the work he puts in, day out, and his leadership speaks through his work ethic and it speaks through his play. So I think Simmons has got my vote.
That's a very fair assessment. Wayne Simmons is someone who he is a leader. He's been a leader for every team he was on. He was on the Sabres for a bit last year, a really porous team. He was on the Flyers, and the Flyers went to the Stanley Cup when they had him on the team. That's no coincidence, by the way. But you could make the argument that past winners of a trophy should get it no matter, would be the best suitor. But I'm going to go with a different pick. I'm going to go with the guy drafted first overall back in 1997, Jumbo Joe Thornton. My reasoning for this is he's coming onto this Maple Leafs roster at 42 years old, and he didn't have to even play again. He signed the league minimum contract of $700,000 for 1 year. That's a veteran playing for $700,000. That's outstanding to me. That's actually outrageous that we got Joe Thornton and Spezza too for $700,000. Now, Joe Thornton, he brings a lot to this team, and he's playing in Switzerland right now. He's playing in Switzerland right now at 42 years old during the NHL's offseason when he could just be sitting at home like the rest of us. He wants to win. He wants to continue to grow as a player. And sure, his knees aren't what they used to be, but he can still make a play. He's still a pretty good player, and he is going to be a presence in that locker room.
Yeah, I think that's a solid pick. Jumbo Joe is one of the great legends of the game for both Canada and the Sharks, and I think that I could definitely see him as a leader in that locker room.
Over 1,600 games of NHL experience he brings to the Leafs alone. That's a leader, and that is the best suitor for the Mark Messier Leadership Award, in my eyes. But I 100% see where you're coming from with your Wayne Simmons pick.
Yeah, that's the beauty about being Leafs fans. We can disagree to agree, but at the end of the day, it's the blue and white that matters the most. That's all in our heart, baby. Let's go.
So we're going to move on to the next award, and that is going to be the Ted Lindsay Award, which is awarded to the most outstanding player in the NHL, voted by their peers, by fellow members of the NHLPA. And we have both agreed on this one, actually. So you wanna start off and tell me why you have Austin Matthews as the Ted Lindsay Award winner from the Maple Leafs?
Yeah, so with this award, I was looking at just the past winners too. Again, got Draisaitl, Kucherov, Hall, McDavid, Crosby, Ovi, the staples. And a lot of times this is the MVP of the season too. And I think that Matthews has my pick for both this award as well as MVP of the season. The guy's averaged over 40 goals the last 2 seasons. He's an efficient goal-scoring machine. I think that if the Leafs are going to have a successful season this year, it's going to rely mostly on Matthews. It's going to be on his shoulders. I think the guy, you got JT, you got Marner, you got a lot of staple names, but I think Matthews has got to be the overall goal scorer leader, and he's got to lead the Leafs through the dark times and the bright times, and I think he'll do that. So that's why he's got my pick.
Hey, I love it. I love it. Austin Matthews, to me, and I'm just going to put this back up here, most outstanding player in the NHL, voted by fellow members of the NHLPA. Now, you could argue that Marner could get it, or even Tavares could get it. But the reason I'm going with Austin Matthews is when I hear the word outstanding from fellow members of the NHL, the thing that they're going to talk about from the Maple Leafs is Austin Matthews' shot, because that is one of the best shots in the NHL, and it could be the best shot in the NHL. Outstanding.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. The guy just knows how to nut and snipe, and he can cherry pick any corner he wants. He's just a bona fide sniper, and I think that at the end of the day, he's got a talent like no other, and he has the chance to be with the legends of the game. it's just a matter of time and a matter of how he can develop over the next few seasons. But I agree with that.
I expect to see him on Legends Row in that picture in 20 years from now with us. I expect him to be there in front of the Scotiabank Arena. He'll have a statue one day.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't think that's outrageous at all.
So we're going to move to the next trophy, and this is going to be the King Clancy Trophy. The King Clancy Trophy is awarded to the player who best exemplifies leadership on and off the ice and has made a noteworthy humanitarian contribution in his community. Now, who do you want to pick for this?
So I think it's Marner, in my opinion. Not only does he just have a face you want to, give a hug to, he's just such a good-looking boy. He just looks so nice all the time. He's always smiling and everything. He just seems like a great guy. But yeah, no, I had to do some research on this one because some of the past winners like Dumba, Zenneberg, they do a lot of stuff off the ice, and that's just important in sports. Giving back to the community. These players make a lot of money, so anytime they can chip into the community and help out. Guy like Marner, I researched that he did some stuff with Sick Kids Toronto, and just seems like a guy that's he's focused on hockey, but at the same time he realizes that Toronto is a community and it needs to be supported. So I think that was definitely my pick for that reason.
Well, my pick is different, and the Leafs have. You could argue that the Leafs have three faces of their franchise, and I'm going with one of the different three. I'm taking John Tavares for this award because he is the captain of this team. He has to exemplify leadership, and he has decided to come back home to Toronto. He has made contributions in the community. You see his face around all the time, and he is the face of the franchise in my eyes. Aside from Austin Matthews. Matthews is the face of the franchise, and Tavares is the poster boy that they put out there to do things. Matthews is the face of the franchise. Tavares is the guy who goes out and represents the team. That's why he has the C on his chest. Tavares, I've been fortunate enough to meet him twice. Once when I was a child, he was just 16 or 17 years old. I got an Oshawa Generals jersey, Generals puck, and a game program signed by him. He took a picture with me. He's an extremely nice, calm, cool, collected guy. And then I met him again at practice this year. You see him signing autographs for everybody who has a Tavares jersey. Anybody who has anything Tavares, he's going to sign it for you. John Tavares, to me, he contributes to the community. He came back to his hometown, and that is the player who best exemplifies leadership on the Maple Leafs enough to get the King Clancy Trophy for me.
Yeah, no, I definitely see that. That's a solid pick too. I have no arguments on that one. I think that he definitely is neck and neck between Marner and JT.
So moving on to the next award, we've got a bunch of awards here. We've got the Lady Byng Memorial Trophy, and this trophy is awarded to the player that is judged to have exhibited the best type of sportsmanship and gentlemanly conduct combined with a high standard of playing ability. Now, I'll actually start off this time. I'll start this one off, and I'm going to pick Austin Matthews for this. Austin Matthews was actually previously, he was a finalist for this award last season. People would argue it. I got a lot of comments on the post that I posted that really after what happened with him and the security guard, that's all in the past, and he exhibits sportsmanship on the ice. When do you see Austin Matthews doing some stupid stuff? You really don't. And the high standard of playing ability is obviously there. Austin Matthews is probably a top 5 player in the NHL. Who do you want to pick for this, Joe?
Yeah, I get your point on Matthews. I think you got to consider the security. What did he do again? He punched a security guard in the face or something. I don't know about that. That's definitely something that could come back and ruin your character a bit. But I do agree it's not fair to pin one event on someone. I don't know the situation. You just hear the headlines and stories can get twisted. But I actually got Marner again. And it goes back to, I just think, well, obviously he's got the quality. I think if not one of the best players on Leafs, he's at least top 2 or 3. And in terms of points too, he's shown that last couple of years. And I think when he's healthy and plays a full season, his standard of play is up there with anyone else. And also, I think that sportsmanship, I've never really seen him getting in any scrums with other players, or really whenever he's dealing with the media, he's always pretty, he's not saying anything bad or anything controversial. He's always pretty clean and saying things that you'd want to hear out of a player. And I also think that he went through that whole thing with Babcock, and we don't need to get into that, but that was tough for a player.
I want to get into that. I want to get into that.
He was in a position where basically, he was put in like a second or first year player, whatever it was, and he had to pick players that he thought were working hard or something like that, and that weren't working as hard. I've been through some tough situations. So
the story goes,
like him. I don't know. Yeah. What's the story?
The story goes is that Mike Babcock pulled Marner aside after a loss, and he told Marner, this was in his rookie season as well, when he really hadn't earned the complete respect of the team, the locker room. He was told to write out a list for Mike Babcock of every player on the team, from hardest working to least hardest working. Now, I had last week Casimir Kaskasuo on the show. He never experienced anything like this under Babcock. But this is a story that was leaked in the Toronto media, and that could be devastating to any young player. And for Mitch Marner, the way he handled it in the media, he really didn't want to talk about it too much. He said, the past is the past. I'm here under Sheldon Keefe now. He handled that exceptionally well. So I really like that point that you brought up.
Yeah, it definitely, at the end of the day, as Leafers, we have to recognize that we do put the players through a lot. The Toronto media is crazy. And I think you got to give recognition to all players who are able to handle that media. It's probably one of the craziest medias in professional sports, at least in North America. So I think that whenever a player can conduct themselves in a professional manner, it shows their character.
Absolutely. Mitch Marner, he handled that whole situation extremely well. So, and he's pretty young. He's just as young as you and I. So that's a really good job. That's a lot of pressure under all the Toronto media. Great job for him, man.
Yeah. I also want to say shout out John Howard. I know he's a diehard fan. He's on every week. We have some great discussions when I'm not on the show. When I'm in the chat during most weeks. So shout out, John. Great to see you tonight, buddy.
Yes, nice to see you on the show, Joe. Or John, my bad. How you doing tonight? We're doing pretty damn good. I got a good friend on here in Clarkie. It's going to be a good show. Glad you could tune into the show today. We are going to move on to the next trophy. And this trophy is called the Frank J. Selke Award Trophy. Now, this award is given to the forward who excels in the defensive aspect of the game. So, who would you like to pick for this award? And also, I'm going to remind all the viewers, chime in the comments section. Let us know who you'd pick for these awards. I'll put some of the comments up there. Joe, who are you picking?
1 sec, I got to do a couple shout outs here. Dan and Kyle, also shout out for being loyal fans. Every week, week in, week out, you guys are in the chat. But okay, back to the question. I'd say for the Frank Selke, which is best defensive offenseman, right? Like the guy that on offense that puts the effort in the defense effort too.
Forward who excels in the defensive aspect of the game.
Okay, so yeah, I did it again. Like I know just off the top of my head, Bergeron, this guy's won it. He won it like 4 or 5 times. So I'm thinking a player like that on the Leafs. I got to go with JT on this one. I think it definitely is harder as a fan or even as a coach or anything to really pick out someone that plays forward and is really good at playing defense too. You have to look at how they back check. You got to look at how they get back from the other zone and really how deep they're able to play in their zone, help out if they see the defenseman struggling. And I think JT does that. He can get low into the boards and really scoop that puck out, get a rush going on the other end. I think his plus minus shows he's got an average plus minus, I think, about 10 the past couple seasons as a Leafer. So JT's got my pick, and I think that he's always a two-way player. And he doesn't float. You never see him floating. He's always working.
That's accurate. And the next player that I'm going to pick, you can say the same things. I'm going with Austin Matthews. Now, you've probably heard this a lot during the broadcasts of any Hockey Night in Canada game that the Leafs are playing. Anytime the Leafs are playing, you hear about Austin Matthews on defense. And specifically last season, he absolutely improved on the defensive side of the blue line. He came back and he played. If you didn't know this, he actually had the highest plus minus on the Maple Leafs team last year with a plus minus of positive 19.
Who? Matthews?
Austin Matthews had the highest plus minus on the team last year.
I didn't know that.
And that is no coincidence. He can excel on the offensive side, but he comes back and he forechecks and backchecks. Austin Matthews has a chance to be one of the best, if not the best, two-way center in the NHL.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that about his plus minus stats. Definitely for all those of you that don't know plus minus, it's really a testament when you're on the ice for goals or when you're on the ice when goals are scored against your team. And the more you're plus, the more you're on for goals that your team scores. So definitely a really good stat. And if he has that high of a number, it shows that he's on more when the Leafs score. Simple as that.
The thing about plus minus is it can be misleading if you're on a good line, but you're not contributing. But it's clear and evident that Austin Matthews contributes on both sides of the ice. So that's why I decided to pick him as my Frank J. Selke Award winner. Which brings us on to the Art Ross. And we actually had a pick in common here in Mitch Marner. You want to start off?
Yeah, so I know I saw a comment saying I'm a Marner lover. I'm not. I was ripping on him last season. I thought that he could have done a lot better. So I'm no Marner lover, but I break down the stats. That's what I do. I provide you my opinion. I don't think my opinion's better than anyone else, but it's my opinion. So I'm not a Marner lover. But anyway, I think Marner's going to win this award. If you look at the past couple seasons, I think it comes down to Marner versus Matthews, and the difference is durability. Matthews has missed more games the past couple seasons than Marner's. It's simple as that. I think the player that plays more games is going to get more points and thus win this award. So I think that Marner, I could see him put up 80 assists. You never know. This guy is just an assist machine. He's on the right line. He's going to be in the right situation. He'll just be feeding the puck to snipers because the Leafs got snipers. So I think it's Marner, and I think it comes down to he plays more games than Matthews and thus gets more points. That's my opinion, though.
Well, like you said, the best ability in sports, and this extends to football, this extends to basketball, any sport, the best ability is availability. And
100%.
Not only, you could say that Marner, he wasn't available all season long. He was dealing with some injuries, and he still had a high points per game. He had over a point per game with 1.13 points per game in 2019-2020, and he had 51 assists in just 59 games. He is a playmaker, and he was dealing with so many injuries all season long. It's mind-boggling that he actually put up that many points in 59 games.
Yeah, I think that it's a testament to his skill, and that's why I agree with you. I think he's best shot to win it.
And the other thing is, you could say that Austin Matthews could be leading the NHL in points, but I see him more as someone who leads in goals. assists are going to come along more often than goals for most players. And an assist is a point too. So in fantasy leagues, you can see some categories are some leagues have 2 points per goal, 1 assist, 1 point for an assist, but it's not like that in the NHL. It's an assist is a point, a goal is a point. So that's why I say Mitch Marner is my guy to have the most points in the NHL at the end of the regular season.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. What do we got next here?
We're moving on to the James Norris Trophy right after I get to some comments here.
All right, sweet.
Maple Leafs rock. Yes, they do.
Yeah, buddy. Let's go.
Let's go. This is the most underrated YouTube channel. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's a lot of work, a lot of dedication put into this channel. Nonstop, always trying to think of new content to put out here. I love it. I love doing this for you guys, and I love the interaction.
I got a thank you for Maple Leafs Media. Do you want me to save it to the end of the show? Or do you want me to say it now? It's up to you. I guess we want to finish this, and I just got to thank you on behalf of all the subscribers. Little message for you at the end of the show, okay?
Yeah, that's perfect. Stay tuned. Viewers, stay tuned to the end of the show to hear what Clarky has to say about that. We have some more comments here. John Howard always puts up some good comments, so let's read what he has to say here.
Love you, Howard. Love you, bud.
Leafs need to play to the next level for sure to be successful. Put skill, grit, tough play against so more of the skilled players can freewheel a bit or a lot. Yeah, I mean, if you put some of the grittier guys on a line with some of the faster guys, I think that would be beneficial to both groups.
Yeah, I think that sometimes Leafs are dipsy doodling it too much, so I agree with John on that one.
It happens, right? There's those games where you just want to rip your eyeballs out. You want to do self-inflicting damage because the Maple Leafs are just bad sometimes. They're slow, they're floating around, but I expect to see a different team out there with names like Joe Thornton and Wayne Simmons coming in. That leadership.
Oh yeah.
Zach Bogosian, he's going to bring the body. I'm excited for these moves that we brought in.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Well, you want to see the line combinations? Well, that might be a good idea for a show later. Maybe I'll make a video about some of the line combinations that I can come up with. Just projections, because it's not going to be out until we actually have an NHL season day announced. But I'm gonna make a video on that. That's a great idea.
I think that Dan forgets how much work, the content really takes. We don't just we put thought into what we talk about on Maple Leafs Media, especially, I'm a first-time guest, and I can tell you, I can only imagine all the work you do. So, Dan, it's a great suggestion, but we can't just whip it out of our butt. We got to think about it, bud.
I'm going to bring it out. Don't you worry. I'll be posting some line projections in the next couple of weeks. Got to think about it. You have a great channel. More Leafs talk, the better. Keep up the good work. It's kind of a dead season right now, in the middle of what would be August in the NHL offseason usually, in middle of November. But I've got a special guest that's been announced for next week, a former NHL player. I'm not going to name who because it's 99% confirmed, but it's not 100%. So stay tuned to see who will be on next week. He has over 500 games of NHL experience, and I'll give you a hint. He played with John Tavares on the Islanders for a year.
Legend.
That's all I'm going to say. So we're going to move on to the next trophy because this is the award show for the preseason. Yep. And we're going to move on to it's kind of getting into the more obvious awards. The James Norris Memorial Trophy. which is awarded to the defenseman who demonstrates the greatest all-around ability at the position. So, you want to start this off?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I agree with you. It definitely is getting a little more obvious here. I think that overall, Leafs only got really one true number one defenseman. That's Morgan Riley. We've seen it since the day he's been drafted. He's number one quality. And whether it was a couple seasons ago, he put up 20 goals, 72 points, or it's just every game, day in, day out. He is just puts in the effort. He's leading the blue line. He's a floor general. He knows what to do every game. And he's leading the Leafs both on and off the ice. Easily could have been the captain. So I think he's definitely got my pick for Norris, most likely as a Leaf. And I'd also just like to throw in that overall, Riley, you think about some of the number ones in the NHL, and you think about some of their line mates and the other defensemen they got on their team, and they got some pretty good cores in the NHL, like Nashville. You look at Yossi. Nashville's had good defense for years. You look at Toronto, though, we've had some questionable defensemen year in, year out, but Riley's always been consistent, and I think that him being consistent, regardless of who his line mate is, shows how much better he really is.
That's exactly what I wanted to touch on. I'm glad you said that because you bring in TJ Brody, who's a stay-at-home kind of defenseman. He can join the rush, but he's more of a stay-at-home kind of guy. With Morgan Riley, who's going to fly up and attack on the rush, that's perfect for me. You put that pairing together, you have Morgan Riley with someone who's at least a top four defenseman in the NHL. Not top four in the whole league, but a top four pairing defenseman on any NHL team. That's huge. Absolutely huge. Look at the past. The best pairing defenseman that Morgan Riley has had was probably Ron Hainsey.
Mm-hmm.
Ron Hainsey, and that was a year after he won a Stanley Cup with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And to be honest, he's a bit washed up. So putting Morgan Riley with TJ Brody, I think that he actually could get the Norris this year. And that's not just from the Maple Leafs. I think he's actually going to compete for the James Norris Trophy this year. He's got some tough competition. He's got Victor Hedman, which is a headache to deal with. You've got names like Roman Josi, like you just said. Cale Makar in Colorado now. There's a lot of great defensemen in the league, and I think Morgan Riley is right there with all the best.
Yeah, no, Riley's great. There's also a lot of great competition now, so it will be a tough award for him to win, but I definitely see the potential there.
So we want to move on to a trophy that's awarded to the Rookie of the Year, and this is called the Calder Memorial Trophy. So we both have the same pick, and I think everybody's going to know what we're saying. That's Nick Robertson.
Yep.
What do you have to say about Nick Robertson?
I'll keep it brief because we both got him, but I don't know. You didn't see him last season. Drafted him 38th overall in 2019. But my God, look at his stats in the O. I know the O doesn't always translate to the show, but the guy put up 85 points in like 45 games, 55 goals in 45 games. He's like 5'9", 160, but can fly. And I think that fits the modern NHL. We don't need a big gun anymore. We see a guy like Marner come in, smaller frame, but just as effective, if not more effective than most players in NHL. So I think that Robertson definitely brings that to the table. You never know with prospects if they're going to pan out. It is very difficult. But in terms of like a scouting report, he ticks a lot of boxes for me.
Yeah, his shot is absolutely outstanding. He got some NHL experience in the preliminaries last season, the NHL return to play. I think that's going to be extremely beneficial for him heading into his first full NHL season, if he plays. That's a big if. I'm not sure if he's going to fit onto this team because of how much depth we have at forward. Our wing spot's ridiculous. But I don't see how it's beneficial at all to send him to the minors in the OHL if they're not going to be checking. I think that's probably going to soften him up a bit, and he'd just tear up the league completely. But I will say this. Nick Robertson was the steal of the draft last year. In the second round, we got an absolute steal. Robertson's going to be a winger on this team for years to come, and he's going to be a great one.
Yeah, I think that you get a guy like that in the second round. You got to be happy about that.
We also have Amarov coming up through the system. We've got a lot of our forwards are going to be great for a while. And then on defense, we've got Liljegren and Sandin, both coming up from the minors as well. Probably not this year. They might play a bit. But we've got a lot of good depth from the Marlies development system. I expect the Leafs to be a good contender for a long time.
Yeah, I agree. And so what do we got here next?
We're moving on to the Hart Memorial Trophy, which is the league MVP. This is something we both agree on. I'm going to let you start off.
Yeah, I think this goes back, you look at some of the past winners again, you got to reflect on some of the names. It's just masterclass. You got Draisaitl, Cooch, McDaddy, Ovi, Crosby, guys like that. I think there's only one name that rings a tone with those names on the Leafs, and that's Austin Matthews. I think Austin Matthews overall has just got it as a player. And again, I think that if the Leafs are going to have a big season, a lot of the weight and a lot of the results are going to have to come from Matthews. I know that's like a typical Toronto media saying, oh, that's what most of the people are probably saying in Toronto, and all best players got to produce, but it's just plain and simple. And I think that we expect so much out of Matthews because we've seen what he can do. And I think that if he can come and produce like he has in the past, like last season, for instance, the guy averages like every 2 games he plays, he averages a goal better. Like he's almost averaging a goal a game some seasons. So I think that when you've put in the numbers like that in the past, it's not unreasonable to think about that in the future. And I think that overall he'll flourish under Sheldon Keefe.
Well, thing is, he got robbed last year of a 50-goal season, which he would have been the first Leaf since Doug Gilmour back in the 90s to do it. And that sucks for him, but I'm sure that's going to add fuel to the fire. He's going to be pissed off that he didn't get that 50-goal season last year.
Oh, yeah.
And he's going to step up his play even more, take it to the next level. I actually see him competing for the league MVP as the Hart Memorial Trophy winner this season.
Yeah, no, I see that.
And another thing that I want to mention is that, like I said earlier, I tested to this earlier in the video, he had the highest plus-minus on the team last season with plus 19. So not only can he score, we all know he can score. That wicked shot. But man, he gets back there too. He gets in the dirty areas. He plays defense. He plays on both sides of the puck, and that's huge if you want to win the Hart Memorial Trophy.
Yeah, that's definitely an underrated aspect. You can look at a player's goals, but at the end of the day, it's how they are overall. And I think that when you put in that point about Matthews playing D and getting back, like that's just as important as scoring goals for a team for sure.
And if you haven't already and you're watching this video, I want to make sure that you smash that like button, hit the notification bell so you're notified every time we're on here, Leafs Talk Live. And like I said, next week I'm going to have another former player from the NHL on here. I can't name who because it's not 100% confirmed, but it's 99.9% confirmed. So stay tuned for more details on that. And I want to get some engagement from the fans here. So I'm going to do my very first Tuesday night trivia. I didn't even tell you about this. So you can join in if you'd like. And this week's question is going to be, who was the very first Maple Leaf to score 100 points in a season? Now, you can take a guess if you want. Take your time. The comments are going to roll in, I hope, throughout the show. I'll get to them as they come in, but we're going to keep going with the show. You want to take a guess at it?
Oh, my. So many great Leafers over the years. I'm going to say
The first Leaf to score 100 points.
First Leafer. I don't think it would be that late in like the 80s or not. I'm gonna say Keon.
No.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, we'll get to it. The comments are coming in, and they have yet to be right. Okay, we have a winner here. So Henny M posts Daryl Sittler was the very first Maple Leaf to put up 100 or more points in an NHL season. This came back in the 70s.
I should have known that.
Came back in the 70s. Daryl Sittler, first Maple Leaf player to put up 100 points.
You want to know a cool story about him? It's not really that cool, but
let's hear it.
Basically, he lives beside my aunt. I can't disclose the location or anything like that, but he's neighbors with my aunt, so I may have met him. I can't say,
I ran into him at a Leafs game once. It was just like random. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, but you have a knack for seeing celebrities or ex-NHLers or big names at playoff games, and not just playoff games, every type of game, right? Like you've seen a lot of people before. You met a lot of different NHLers.
I'm good at recognizing faces. I can put a name to a face really quickly. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on with the show, and we're gonna get to something that's been rumored to happen. And if there's an NHL season, which there probably will be, this is how it's gonna end up happening. Due to some certain circumstances in the world that remain to be unnamed on this channel, there's going to be an all-Canadian division this season. So the all-Canadian division would obviously consist of all 7 Canadian teams in the NHL. This leads us to get into some predictions for this year. Who do we think is going to come out on top of the all-Canadian division? You want to give us your all-Canadian division rankings?
For sure, yeah. Just want to say it would definitely be interesting. You know, as a Leafs fan, we only see them play like the Flames or the Oilers once a year, usually twice a year, hardly ever, right? So it would be interesting to see those games more frequently. But yeah, to my list, I got the Leafs 1. I just got to say, yeah, there's a bit of bias in this, but I think they're the most all-around team in the regular season. I just think that they have the most stars. It'll be the first time that they'll have a full season under Sheldon Keefe. I think they got a really good shot to take this division, but there is some tough competition. So I got to give respect and props to number 2, which leads me to number 2, Oilers. So a little bit of disclaimer. I had one of my analysts, his name's Sledge Hockey, he's in the chat here. He's a big Flames fan. He knows a lot of the Western Canadian teams. So I got him to give me some blowdown on some of the transactions. He said the Oilers arguably had one of the best off seasons among not only Canadian teams, but in their franchise history. They picked up who did they pick up? They picked up Tyson Barrie.
That's big.
Chris Russell re-signed him. I don't know. A lot of names, you know. Basically, I think one of the main reasons the Oilers weren't doing well in the past is they were just uneven, kind of like the Leafs. You know, they had Draisaitl, they had McDavid, but they had a lot of other supporting roles that just weren't being filled by some of their players. So I think they might have a good shot to take the division too. Then I got Jets at 3. I think whenever you got a Vezina winner in net, it's always going to give you a good shot winning the division. I looked at their projected lineups and just like getting Stastny back, he slots well in the second line. I think they got a really good top 6 forward, so I got them at number 3. I got the Flames at 4, and I think the Flames had a pretty good offseason. You know, they got Markstrom from Vancouver, and we all saw what he did in the playoffs. Like, wow, what a goalie, eh? And, you know, they got Tkachuk, Gooch, Monahan. They definitely got a good core there. They lost Brody, but they also picked up Tanev from Vancouver too. So I don't know. They look like a decent team, but the Flames they haven't been wowing in recent years. So I got them at 4. Canucks at 5. I read something online saying someone ripped on them, saying that they should be at last because they had the worst offseason ever. But that's probably because they lost Markstrom, they lost Tanev both to Calgary. They picked up Holtby, who's kind of been a wild card in recent years. I think he definitely has proven he can be one of the best goalies, but been kind of streaky. So I don't know. We'll see. I think Vancouver definitely there's upside, but there's also a lot of downside. And they got Senators. I got Senators because I think this is a good spot for the Senators. They didn't have a lot of wins last year, and they weren't a very good team, but they're up and coming. And I think as a Senators fan, the next 3 to 4 years, that's when you got to get more excited. And the Battle of Ontario might get closer than we think in the next couple of years. And I look forward to that as a Leafs fan. I always love the Battle of Ontario. I'd love to see the Leafs go head-to-head against Shabbat, Kachuk, all those boys. So hopefully they do get better. And then lastly, the Canadians. Don't get me started on the Canadians. I think the Canadians overall probably going to be one of the worst teams in the NHL this year. I think their GM's a cuckoo show right now. I think he needs to be out. I don't think the Montreal Canadiens have any direction whatsoever. It doesn't pay me to say any of this because I hate the Canadiens as a Leafs fan. So maybe I have a bit of bias against them too. But I think anytime you do some of the transactions, the Domi trade, I'll let you get into that. I didn't understand it, but I just don't understand where this team's going. And I just think that's why they're at 7. I don't think they're going to win a lot of games. The only bright spot for me is Price. And I think Price is going to get injured this season and go to the Leafs the next season.
Hot take. Hot take. I'd like to see Carey Price in the blue and white. That'd be a beautiful thing, but I don't think that'll ever happen, personally. I'm going to give you my prediction. I also have the Maple Leafs in first place. We definitely improved this offseason with our 10 free agent signings, 10 players that we brought in. They all have a purpose on this team. The 2 goalies, they just add a security blanket back there. Our defensemen, they are definitely an upgrade from Tyson Barrie and drawing a blank here. Cody Ceci. That's why I'm drawing a blank, because it's Cody Ceci. And the thing about Tyson Barrie, I just don't think it was a fit for him. I think going to the Oilers is actually going to be a smooth transition for him. I think that's going to be beneficial to him and the Oilers as well. Oilers got better on defense. That's why I'm putting them at number 2 with all that star power up front. 3, the Canucks. I like the Holtby signing, and I think Markstrom was overpaid by Calgary. I really like the Holtby signing. I get that he's on the wrong side of 30, but he's won a Stanley Cup. He's going to a team who's advancing through playoff rounds last year, got closer to the Cup. I mean, I like the Canucks this year. 4, the Jets. That was tough for me to decide whether I should put the Jets at 3 or 4. But this division, the All-Canadian division, is going to screw over these West teams, and I'll get to that in a minute. The Jets are definitely a contender. Flames at 5. I think, like I said, they overpaid Markstrom. The loss of TJ Brody definitely hurts. Senators at 6. And I've been actually preaching that the Senators would look better this year. But the fact that they're in this all-Canadian division is going to prevent them from doing anything, making any sort of splash, because it's just an extremely tough division. And dead last, the Montreal Canadiens. Yes, Marc Bergevin is super silly. I can't believe they traded Max Domi away. That's just, to me, that's a stupid move. And the fact that they also forgot to I guess Marc Bergevin doesn't really know how to handle the media, because what he did is he actually came out and he said, after Wayne Simmons signed with the Maple Leafs, he was the one to announce it, not Wayne Simmons. He said, "Oh, I offered him something, but he signed with the Leafs for less." What kind of press is that to represent your team? An original 6 team that's supposed to have one of the best fan bases in the world. The Maple Leafs being the best fan base in the world. So the Canadiens are dead last in this all-Canadian division. Boom, Montreal. You got it, John.
Oh, yeah.
I love that you got the Canadiens last. Yeah, you have to. So if you haven't already, make sure you smash that like button, hit the notification bell so you are notified every time we're live here on Leafs Talk Live. And as I said before, I've attested to this prior in the video. We're going to have a special guest on here next week, Tuesday, November 24th, the day before my birthday. We're going to have a former NHL goaltender on here. 99.9% confirmed. Need to work out some more things with them, but it looks like it's going to be happening. So stay tuned for some of that. And yes, thank you to Sledge Hockey 101 for reminding me about this.
Good question.
So teams in the West are absolutely being screwed over by this format due to the fact, think about this. Calgary, Vancouver, in a division with all those California teams. Prior to this, what's happening in the world, this pandemic. You have in California, you have Anaheim, you have LA, and then you have Arizona just in the desert as well. You've got Vegas, sure, that's tough. But think about that Western division this year. It's going to be a Western Pacific division, I believe, is what they're calling it. That's going to be easy pickings for the Avalanche and for the Vegas Golden Knights. The Calgary Flames, the Canucks, the Jets, they have to all come into a division with the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs have to go into a division with them. They're all playing in one division now. It's going to be way tougher. It's going to present some tough challenges for these teams. They're going to be playing each other a lot more frequently if you think about it. They're going to be fighting for points, fighting for scraps. And at the end, in the playoffs, I think it will present a lot more interesting playoff series. We'll probably see two Canadian teams clash, and that would be thrill. That would be an absolute thrill in the playoffs to watch, say, Toronto and Montreal in the playoffs. Not that Montreal is going there, but that'd be extremely fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with your point. I just want to add in that, like, yeah, I didn't think of it that way. And, you know, some of those teams in the West traditionally have been stronger too, like not Arizona, but LA and Anaheim have been very strong teams in the past. And it seems like, you know, the table's kind of turned now, and the North, all the Canadian teams have gone better. So it's probably not the best timing for any of them to be matched up in the same division.
No, and that Western division is just going to be a yawn to watch that. It's going to be extremely boring. I think their ratings and their viewings are going to go way down. That's going to be it's going to be tough sledding, and that's a lot of the part of the reason why these owners like Arizona or Florida, these small markets, they don't want to have an NHL season. But if you don't have an NHL season, think about this on the grand scale. NHL is already pretty small compared to the NFL or NBA. So you have to have a season this year if you're the NHL, or you actually risk completely losing half of your fans.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what people are saying in the comments about NHL season not happening because of these smaller market teams. I think, you know, Bettman and Bettman has done a good job trying to expand the league, but he's focused way too much on America, I believe, in the expansions. And this may be a testament to, you know, maybe some of these smaller American markets just maybe they won't be able to survive something like this. We don't know, and it's all speculation at this point. But yeah, like a team like Arizona, I think a lot of the times most of their ticket sales and even their fan base was a lot of it was Canadians, right? So or people from northern states. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but yeah, it is. I think the league needs to have a season too. I agree with you on that. The NHL is not big enough to afford to just be shut down for a full year, in my opinion. But you know, only time will tell, and we'll see what the owners agree on.
Definitely. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next few weeks. Hopefully we get an announcement because they said that they're aiming for a January 1st start date. And we still haven't heard a thing about what's going on with training camp or anything. And honestly, I don't think they really need a training camp. You look at NFL, they had a very condensed one. They just need to get a season in to continue having decent ratings from their viewers. There's another thing that I wanted to bring up, their TV contract expires at the end of this season. There's going to be another problem to address.
NHL?
NHL's TV contract expires at the end of this season. So they need to play this season in order to continue being shown on TV.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. I can't remember what was the NHL, but I remember with the NBA, a big thing was like, when you're in those contracts, you need to hit a benchmark of games that you're going to play. You sign a contract, you need to fulfill the agreements to a certain extent. So that's why they had a few more regular season in the NBA. But in the NHL, yeah, TV contracts drives a lot of the league sources of revenue, and I think that's a good point with the contracts expiring. The owners got to consider that too. I'm sure they are, but yeah, it's just another thing to add to the equation, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, this comment here, I don't necessarily agree with it. I mean, I think the NHL will have a season. You look at the NFL, the NBA, they're all going to push through. It's about that they have to. They have to have a season due to the circumstances. They have to have it if they want to continue. But I can see where you're coming from with thinking they might not have hockey. It's not a big deal to many people, but for people like myself, I don't know about you, but for myself, having no hockey would be devastating. Having no football would be devastating. I mean, sports is a big distraction in my life and in many people's lives. Having sports, it's huge. It's huge to take your mind off what's going on in the real world because there's a lot of crappy stuff going on out there.
Yeah, for sure. 2020 was not a great year for a lot of reasons, but I agree with you on that. And I had a similar position to what Henny M said about everything going into red zone, but I had that about football. I thought the football season wouldn't happen. Too many people, too hard to control it, but we've seen that they've persevered somehow, and maybe that's a glimmer of hope. Obviously, it's getting worse, but we'll see. But I think that definitely sports unites everyone, and we're a case example of that right now. We're getting together on a cold November night, November 17th. We don't even know when the season's going to start again, but we're all just diehard Leaf fans. We come together, we talk about the Leafs, we share that same passion. We're united by the blue and the white, and I think that's what it's all about for sports and Leaf fans and everything. We're united, and I think to have sports on, that would keep us united.
It's the passion that unites us all. So go Leafs, go 100%. And on that note, if you are watching this video, thank you. Make sure you hit the like button, smash it, hit the notification bell. You'll be notified every time I'm on here on Leafs Talk Live every Tuesday. I'll also be posting some other videos, some great content. Now, hopefully I can get you back on here, Clarky. It's been really fun having you on the show. And you said you had some closing statements you'd like to say to our viewers. So I'm going to let you have the final word.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for having me on too, and hopefully I come back again. It's always great. I'm just a fan with an opinion, and it's great to have discussions, interact with all the subscribers. But I just wanted to say, I can't say how do you say his name? The guy that came on last week, the goaltender, Karismako or
Casimir Kaskasuo.
Kaskasuo. I just wanted to say, on behalf of all the subscribers, and thank you to Maple Leafs Media for bringing him on, Kaskasuo for coming on. It was great to hear an NHLer's experience, and even if he's not part of the Leafs anymore, I think as fans and lovers of hockey, we can all appreciate him coming on, talking about going through the minors, playing in the NHL, going through the bubble. That's what all hockey is about, the stories and the insight, and we all share the passion to hear things like that. So thank you to him coming on, and thank you to Maple Leafs Media. I think it just shows that having a guest like that, a real NHLer come on, shows Maple Leafs Media is on the come up. It started down here, and it's going all the way to the top. Long-time listener, first time on the show, but I can say that Maple Leafs Media is just right here, and it's growth. It's going to keep going. We're going to get more guests on. It's going to be bigger and better. And the biggest thing about Maple Leafs Media is that it's all about the fans. We're all just fans here, and we always are interacting. Everyone's got a say in the show. No one's running it. It's not like we're on Sportsnet with Kiprios telling you how it is. Everyone's here together, and we're sharing the same opinion. So that's the beauty about Maple Leafs Media, and I'm really excited for the future of Maple Leafs Media and the channel and everything. So thank you, and thank you for putting in the time, making these videos, posts, everything. I know you're grinding day in and day out on this and some of the other stuff you got going on, but thank you so much. We recognize you putting a lot of work on behalf of all the subscribers, the fans out there. We just want to say thank you, Jake. Thank you for all the work you're putting in.
And thank you for joining the show. Thank you for those great comments. Thank you to all the viewers. It means a lot to me. I will see you guys next week with hopefully the special guest I've been hinting at. Stay tuned for more. Till next time.
Peace out.